Paul here, and welcome along to my workshop. Two lots of apologies. First of all, this is not a turning video. This is about as much as you're going to see my lathe in this video, so obviously if this is not your thing, then please carry on to the next project video. My second apology goes to Stephen, John and Ian. The four of us have been chatting away on Facebook for the last month or so, coming up with trying to do ideas of different things. We all have very small workshops, and I think it was John who came up with the idea of the 10 questions, and I was very busy at the time, working on a lot of projects, sorting a lot of videos out. However, the reason I think that's really got me wanting to do this now for more than anything is down to the person I've nominated at the end of the video, and I'll explain then the reason why. I started wood turning back in July 2016. The reason why I got into wood turning was probably the year beforehand. I had started making clock cases. I was buying the components of clocks off eBay. Mechanical clocks this is, where you wind up and they've usually got a pendulum of some sort. And the first clock case I made was from an 1850 movement, which I still have and love. It doesn't always get wound up because it's only a one-day movement. And I went out and bought myself a rotor, just a hand rotor. Bought some pine from the local hardware store and spent several evenings and weekends outside making up a clock case. And the problem was that I didn't have anywhere where I live now to do this, so I looked at building myself a workshop. Initially I started looking at metalwork lathes, and it wasn't then until I started then searching on YouTube for lathes that all of a sudden I come across the wood lathes. Now, many years ago, 20 years ago this month, when I got married, my wife's sister's father-in-law made us a lovely little bowl, and I believe it's a segmented bowl with all these little apples in it. And I think even back then I thought, wow, that was amazing. And it was something that I'd always liked to have done. So when I did finally search on YouTube and start seeing all these wood turning videos, and then I started looking into the prices and stuff like that, I thought, right, that's the route I'm going. Well, my channel started literally before I even built the workshop. I think my very first video on the channel, if you actually go back and look, was where I spoke about building the workshop. I think I'd even drawn up some plans and stuff like that. I think I said the second video, I think I bought my miter saw and gave a demonstration of that outside briefly. And I think either the third or fourth video was then a time-lapse video where I totally built the workshop. But before I even got there, even started the channel, I'm one of these people that if I'm interested in something, I will go out and do lots and lots of research. And I trawled the internet, everything on YouTube. I think even before I'd done the plans for the workshop, I'd already gone through every single one of Mike Walt's videos. I then started going through all of Carl Jacobson's, and I think at the point then when I was probably started turning, I then went to Martin Saban-Smith, went through every single one of his videos, and then progressed on from there. I use probably most of my tools like most wood turners do. I mean, you can probably see behind me I have a small amount of tools. I bought the Axminster set to start with, so you've got your roughing gouge, detail gouge, spindle gouge, parting tool and a skew chisel. I think that's it, yeah, initially. And obviously I've gone through, like all wood turners, using them all. Initially I used to use my roughing gouge the most for spindle work. I really struggled for some reason with the spindle gouge until I probably got the grind done properly. and I used to make all of my initial little things really with the detail gauge. However, I then started getting into using the skew chisel, and watching people like Steve Jones on Facebook, obviously, which you'll all know, his skills with the skew chisel are amazing. And I started doing a lot more, and one time I got a double catch, which I did have a video on here, when I was using the skew too close to the chuck jaws. The skew bounced up off the wood, caught the chuck jaws, and literally just smashed my tool rest in half. And at that point I then went online and I found somebody's videos who did an awful lot of tutorial videos with the skew chisel, and it was at that point then I really went on and learnt to use the skew chisel a lot more. I still struggle with the big work, but any small spindle work, it's my preferred tool anytime. I will say that, and again, it really depends on what you're doing, but my two probably tools I use the most will probably be the bowl gouge and the spindle gouge. Sorry, the bowl gouge and the skew chisel. It really depends on the work, on the piece you're working on. A lot of the time I will just go for a straightforward wax finish, something like Wood Wax 22. I've started using the chestnut microcrystalline wax on some products. For pens I will always do a CA finish because they are a lot harder wearing, and I don't think really anything beats that. And just recently on a few pieces which will come up probably after this video, on the 22nd of March, I've started using Danish oil. So it's a mixture of all sorts, but I think the one I prefer most is a wax finish. It just seems to finish the wood off nicely, and then depending on which type of wax you use, you can then either have a more of a luster finish, a sheen, but having said that, Wood Wax 22 does sometimes put on quite a shine, or obviously you can buff it to a nice glossy shine with something like microcrystalline wax. Now this is a tough question. I've only been turning, like I say, since last July, so that's what's 8 months. So I am still massively learning. I would certainly like to and again, if you follow my channel, you'll notice that I don't just specialise in one thing. One week I could be doing rough turning, doing some wet turning, which there's a video to follow which I did the other week. On the lathe you'll see I've got a bit of spalted beech here. I'm doing some form of a box. I've done bowls, I've done some segmented work, and again, tune in on the 24th of March, I have a massive segmented project for my wife's birthday. So it's really a mixture of all sorts. But what do I really want to achieve? I want to achieve, obviously, learning as much as possible. Trying to help my channel grow a bit. I mean, I've got to say, it's absolutely awesome that I've got 600 plus subscribers at the moment. I just can't see that why people want to tune in and really watch what I do all the time. I'm obviously doing something right, so it's just really just getting out in the workshop as much as possible, trying to produce something new, trying to learn all the time, and trying to really just better myself what I do. Well, I sit here editing the video and I notice I haven't answered question 6. So there's probably two elements that I enjoy the most. The first has to be when you put on something like a sanding sealer or an oil, and all of a sudden the grain pops. The best way I can probably describe that for somebody who's not really into wood turning, it's a bit like when I used to do photography and develop my own prints. It's when you start seeing your print come through the developing tray, it's sort of like the most exciting part of the whole thing. The other part is when you get to that finished item. it's when you've just finished polishing it up on the lathe, or done whatever you're doing, finished with it, and it's all that sort of like 2 hours of work, or in some cases 6 weeks worth of work, and you've finally got that finished item. Those to me are probably the two most exciting parts. I mean, I do enjoy literally all of it. And again, because I turn different things all the while, it's, especially when you hit something new, that automatically becomes your favourite piece of the time. So there's never really anything I could say that is massively outstanding, but I do have probably a small handful of pieces that I am really, really proud of. I mean, my very first turning, I am really proud of it. I mean, I look at it back now and think, wow, if I redid that again, it would be such a different quality, even after this short period of time of 8 months. And again, I'm going to revisit that on my 1 year anniversary, so tune in for that. But I think what I'm more proud of when I do pieces is when I make something for a purpose. So obviously that has quite a relevance to me, because one, it's the first thing I ever turned, and two, it was actually turned for a purpose, to hold that kitchen roll holder on. Almost every time I'm in this workshop doing something, it gets used. The other things I've done, I made my daughter the Purple Heart bowl, and I absolutely love it. I very rarely see it because it's locked in her bedroom, but it was the first time I turned something so hard as Purple Heart, and I was very careful about it and wanted to create a very basic shape to show off the wood, and I absolutely loved it. But again, I've also done 2 segmented projects, as I said, one to follow on the 24th. And even my first one, which took me 3-4 weeks, was a segmented money box. So I do have a lot of favourite pieces, or a lot of pieces I'm really proud of, but I wouldn't say there's one there that I would say that this is my overall favourite piece. As I go along, I just do different things all the time. Now, I watch obviously several YouTube users who do an awful lot of colouring, and my question really comes from, and I learnt this from photography really, as a hobby, when I used to go to a camera club. And the question you really have to yourself is, when you work on your piece of wood like this, and you've got your shape nicely sanded down to the finish you want, and you really have to ask yourself the question, by putting colour on that, has it actually enhanced the piece, or are you really just doing it for the sake, I want a colour? And often not, I think that the natural beauty of wood far outweighs anything you can do with colour. And I will say though that I've seen 1 or 2 pieces, I mean, especially like what Martin has done, look absolutely amazing. I think one of his recent videos, he did a hollow form with this sort of like green colouring on the outside, but the more important thing to me was he left the inside plain, and so you could therefore see the natural beauty of the wood inside, and the green on the outside. It wasn't, even though it was quite a vivid colour, you could still see the whole wood grain through it. So I mean, if you're just going to go and then pick that piece up and give it a solid red colour or something, and you don't ever see the wood, I'd say it's a big no-no. But again, everybody has their own preferences. Overall, I would say I would prefer not to see things coloured. Tinted maybe sometimes. I mean, obviously when you put on things like sanding sealer, it brings out the grain, and you think, well, I mean, effectively, even this piece on the lathe, it's only had sanding sealer on it, and I mean, you could call that colouring of some sort. It's obviously enhanced the piece, but I wouldn't go on then and then colour afterwards. So overall, I would say I'm not necessarily a fan of colouring at the moment, but again, obviously we change on our opinions, we grow on different things. If ever I bought myself an air compressor and some colours, then it may well be a different thing, but I love wood, to see wood. That's the important thing. Probably two or three reasons really. The main thing was that obviously I spend an awful lot of time watching people's YouTube channels. I mean, when I find somebody that I like, I will trawl through every single one of their videos, because it's the way I learn, it's the way I get ideas. I mean, even Carl Jacobson, I mean, yes, I mean, you'll all know how much of a great turner he is, but how many, I mean, especially if you're new to turning like me, how many of you have actually gone back to his very first videos from 6-7 years ago when he first started? Now, because I trawled through every one of his videos, I watched those early videos that he did, and he was making simple boxes, little boxes, just using simple tools, sort of tools that I bought as a beginner. He was making these boxes, so there's no forcing the bits, no drilling out, anything like that, and it was, to me, it was a great way of learning. So it was my way of people seeing the way I work. Hopefully it helps some other people as well. Now, I know that for sure that one or two of the videos I've done, people have commented, wow, that's really helped me, I couldn't do that, or I didn't know how to do that, which to me, I've passed something back onto my channel which I've learned from others. But probably more importantly to me, the reason for having a YouTube channel, and especially from starting out, I mean, yes, as always, I mean, you get so much praise on the channel for almost every video you put up. You get, like I say, you get praise for all the work you do, and it just helps you along. But more importantly, when I've had problems, or well, not so much problems, people have seen where I've probably struggled or different areas that I can improve on, they've always commented and just said, well, why didn't you try this, why didn't you try that? Obviously I learned from YouTube as well, from me putting up videos. And the other important thing I find about YouTube is there tends to be two types of reason why you go onto a YouTube. One is that you want to see the work people are doing, to get ideas, you just want to see precisely what they're doing at the lathe. I mean, I've done it in the past when I've wanted to learn how to do a bit of a plumbing or something like that. I just want instruction on obviously seeing, and that's it. People don't want the talking, but like I say, the other side of it as well is that what I always enjoy as well, which is why when I do find somebody's channel I like, I trawl through every one of their videos. To me, a channel is also about the person. And I believe that, I mean, even though I've never met anybody from YouTube, the likes of Mike Waltz, Martin Saban-Smith, Carl Jacobson and stuff like that, I believe that through watching their channels and their talking and stuff like that, I've learned a lot more about them. So to me, their channels are more than about what they do at the lathe. So that's what I also get out of YouTube, and I'm hoping that that's what people see from my channel as well. It's not just about what I produce, it's about the person, a bit of the person I am. Well, over the years I've done an awful lot of hobbies. Some of them last a few months, some of them last a few years, and some of them just keep going on. And over that time, from probably when I was at school, I mean, I did freshwater fishing, I then took up golf. Photography has always been a big part of my life. I mean, I've always been interested in things like physics from space and stuff like that. So I had a stage a couple of 3 years ago where I bought myself a telescope. But again, I want to get the photography side from it, and the expense would be astronomical really to do it properly. So it's just a mixture of things, and obviously clocks, mechanical clocks, I absolutely love to pieces. So I do have a lot of interests, but I suppose my main other hobby would be photography, and it's just one of those ongoing things that you do all the time. So, okay, if you've got this far in the video, that's the 10 questions sorted now. And like I say, the main reason for me getting up doing this video this weekend was purely simply I'd thought about somebody that I want to nominate, and between the four of us who started these 10 questions, we're all small workshop users. We all have a tight budget. We all have limited time when we can get in the workshops, but I believe that we all do produce some really nice items. And I would dare say that some may even comment that the odd item we produce is just as good as some of those people who have got all the machinery and a lot of the experience. I mean, yes, there's going to be certain things we never touch. Now, the person I want to nominate is, I've spoken to him on Facebook overnight and he's happy to do this. Also is another small workshop user with a limited budget, limited tools, but I tell you what, this person does produce some fantastic items. So please do go and check out his channel. And the person I'm nominating is Dave Capepr-Sanden, and I apologise if I've said your name wrong, Dave. I'm doing it from memory, so I haven't looked it up, and obviously I'm probably not the best to say the names in the first place. As I say, visit Dave's channel. He has produced some amazing work. He gives me ideas of some things to do that I will go off and put a twist on them, and at the same time he'll see sometimes something I've produced and he'll go off and do something himself from what I've done. But like I say, his work is really, really good, and it will be interesting to see his answers to the 10 questions. Down below I will put links to my 3 other fellow companions in this collaboration who started the 10 questions. I believe one of them, it might be Stephen, also has a playlist for the 10 questions, so please go along, run the playlist. You'll see all sorts of people who have done these 10 questions. Mike Walt uploaded his, I think it was yesterday or the day before, so it is slowly going through the whole community. So like I say, I apologise that this is not a turning video. I think I already have something like over 60 odd videos, and I think, like I say, because I've been working so much out here, I already have about another 3 or 4 at least queued up, scheduled to be released on the channel, so you won't have to wait too long. But 22nd of March there's 2 videos coming out at the same time. That's my 20th wedding anniversary, so it's a present for the wife. And on the 24th of March is my second segmented project, and that's a birthday present for the wife. So please do tune in and take a look. Like I say, if you've got this far and you've put the thumbs down, it's a one-off. There are a lot of other videos. And again, I want a big thanks to the other 3 guys, Stephen, John and Ian. It's great chatting to you all the time on Facebook. Coming up with these ideas. I think you come up with a wonderful idea with the 10 questions, and I'm looking forward to really where we go next with our next little projects. So thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you all on the next project video. Bye.